Welcome to the Stay-at-Home Nurse Podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Cooper-Gillingham. For over 25 years, I've strived to use my nurse credentials to find work that fit my lifestyle, whether it was raising my 4 children and 3 fur babies, traveling the world, or moving to Mexico and living on the Caribbean Sea. Sometimes I succeeded, and sometimes I failed, but I always learned from the experience. Now, I want to help you by sharing what worked and what didn't work. There are so many opportunities out there for nurses today. The Stay-at-Home Nurse Podcast will inspire and equip you to have a nursing career that is meaningful and supports your lifestyle. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the Stay-at-Home Nurse Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about why I believe nurses make great entrepreneurs. First of all, nurses like to help people. And as an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful, you have to help people. Zig Ziglar said, "You can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want." I truly believe that. I believe that as an entrepreneur, the only way that I will get what I want is if I am helping other people. The next reason, nurses are trusted. People do business with people that they trust. People trust nurses. Year after year, in Gallup polls, nurses are shown to rate significantly higher in honesty and ethics than any other profession. And yes, you heard me right. Significantly higher. I wish I could show you the graphic. We blow everyone else out of the water. The point is, people trust us, and people do business with people that they trust. The next reason, nurses are resourceful. How many times have you needed to create a workaround? I bet you probably do it at least once a week at work. And we are so good at it that those workarounds often just become the way it's always been done and the way that we always will do it. We know how to make stuff happen also. Everyone on the healthcare team comes to the nurse to make stuff happen. We are the ones that get things done. And next, the nursing process. You know, ADPI. Assess, diagnose, plan, implement, and evaluate. This process is also helpful to entrepreneurs. As an entrepreneur, you have to look at things differently. Nurses look at things differently. As nurses, we look for things that can be improved upon and how they can be made better. If you want to be successful in a business, you have to be able to look at things differently. How can they be made better? What can be done differently that will make an improvement? Next, we diagnose. We determine what the problem is. And as a business owner, you have to determine what the problem is. Then we make a plan to fix the problem. And after we create that plan, we implement. This is where the plan is carried out, and this is where most entrepreneurs stall. Most people spend so much time planning and assessing and evaluating and deciding what to do, but they never implement. How many times have you heard somebody say, "I thought of that years ago. They stole my idea." No, they didn't steal your idea. Many people had the idea. They had the idea. The difference is they implemented. That is where I see so many entrepreneurs get stuck. They get stuck with the assessment and the planning, and they never implement. Nurses know nothing happens until you implement. But we're still not done. Once we implement, we have to evaluate. Is what we're doing giving us the results we desire? As nurses, we do this instinctively. Most of the time, I don't even think we actually think about it. We don't go through and check off the boxes and say, now I'm assessing, now I'm diagnosing. And honestly, I did that in my business without even realizing that's what I was doing. Let me give you an example. I couldn't find a book that had all the information that I needed to study for a certification exam. So I assessed the problem. After checking numerous resources, I realized there were a bunch of gaps in areas that were not covered. I decided there needed to be one resource that covered everything, especially those gaps. That was my diagnosis. My plan was that I would research each area that was on the exam and create my own resource. But I didn't stop there. I actually implemented. I did the research and I wrote the book that I was looking for. Then I had to evaluate. Just because it worked for me didn't mean it would work for other people. So I gave that book to other people that I knew would be taking the test. They used it and studied from it, and then they passed the test. That's when I knew I had something that was valuable, something that would help other people. Remember, we like to help other people. You can get everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. Entrepreneurs use this process all the time. They use it when they're looking for new products to create and to create systems and processes and to solve problems that occur internally. It's not just about creating new products. Also, nurses constantly monitor our patients. We're checking their vital signs. As an entrepreneur, you are constantly checking the pulse of your business. For each business, that is different. For some, they might want to check leads. For others, it's sales. For some, it's outbound calls. Others, it's inbound calls. It could be email subscribers, website visitors, repeat customer satisfaction scores. These are the metrics that companies are looking at. Just like we look at vital signs, companies are looking at metrics. And then, when a problem is found, we go back to ADPI. We assess what is causing the problem. We diagnose what is the problem. We make a plan. How can we improve on that problem? We implement on that plan that we created. Then we evaluate. Did it give us the results we desire? If not, we go back and we assess again. I'm a great entrepreneur because I was a great nurse first. As a good nurse, I took care of my patients. As a good entrepreneur, I take care of my customers. So why am I telling you this? To get the life that I wanted, I needed to become an entrepreneur. To be able to live where I wanted, to work when I wanted, to not work when I didn't want to work, to be able to go anywhere at any time, I needed to be an entrepreneur to fulfill the lifestyle that I wanted. I wanted to be an expat. I knew as a nurse I could not work in another country. So, becoming an entrepreneur has allowed me to take control of my life and have the life that I dreamed about. Now, it's not just about living on the beach in Mexico, as much as I love living on the beach in Mexico. It's more than that. When my mom had her brain aneurysm, I was able to jump on a plane, fly to Pittsburgh, and spend 5 weeks at her bedside in the hospital. When she came home, I was able to spend another 5 weeks in her home, taking care of her and getting her back to her normal. If I had worked somewhere, I would have never been able to do this. I was able to, at the drop of a hat, jump on a plane and quit working for 10 weeks. I didn't have to check with anybody. I didn't have to ask for approval. I didn't have to fill out FMLA forms. I had set up a business that allowed me to take 10 weeks off and never miss a beat. Yes, I did a couple check-ins. I had a team that was running everything, and I had purposefully set it up this way. I don't want you to think that just by getting your own business on day one, you'll be able to take 10 weeks off, because it didn't happen like that. But for years, I had been purposefully setting up my business so that when the inevitable happened and something happened to one of my family members and I needed to be there, I would be able to be there. And when the test occurred, when this thing happened and we tested these systems and everything we put in place, it worked. And I am so grateful that I have this business, that I was able to spend that time with my mom. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. And I'm not trying to convince you that it's for you. The purpose of this podcast is to just plant that seed. I want you to see how being a nurse can transition you to entrepreneurship and being a great entrepreneur, that you have what it takes to be a great entrepreneur. You have what it takes to be successful. I truly believe that. If you are a good nurse, you can transition all of those skills and all of those qualities into becoming a great entrepreneur. And you don't have to jump straight into entrepreneurship. That's not what I did. I kind of started off as a side hustle, and you can do the same thing. You can test the waters, see what works, see what you like, see what you don't like. So this episode was a little bit different than the previous episodes, but I am so passionate about entrepreneurship and the life that it's given me that I had to share this with you. And I am really curious for your feedback. Did you like this episode? Do you want to learn more about entrepreneurship? Is this something that you are investigating or you're at least curious about? If so, please let me know so that I can continue to bring you this type of content. Or do you just want to stick with all the things for building a job, for creating a career, for working for somebody else? We can do that too. I would love to hear your feedback. Send me an email to hello@thestayathomenurse.com. Again, that email address is hello@thestayathomenurse.com. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And if you have any other topics you'd like me to cover, you can send it to that same email address, hello@thestayathomenurse.com. I hope you'll tune in to next week's episode, where I'm going to give you part 2 of how I went from a bedside nurse to living on the beach in Mexico, the 5-year plan. Last time, I think I just kind of missed some things that I really didn't get to dive deep on what actually brought me here, and I wanted to cover those. So we'll be covering those next week. If you are liking this podcast, make sure you never miss an episode by go ahead and subscribing. If you're on the Apple, you just hit the purple subscribe button. If you're on a different podcast, each one of them has a way that you can subscribe. I would really love to hear any feedback you have. Give us a rating and review. See you next week.